I'm from Armiet College. I'm studying my final year, 78. I have come here to attend the campus drive of Conclave. I have completed my aptitude test now. It was a bit difficult compared to the other companies. I have, in my college, it is the third placement drive that has been conducted. Our college aims to place every student before they are graduated, and also it provides internships to students during their third year, and it's very good college. Thank you.
Good evening, friends. Welcome you all to Armiet College Young Achieve live webinar series, Dynamic Youth Conclave, Leaders from Generation Z. We had young leaders coming from various countries and sharing and inspiring all of young youth here. Friends, we are on day 5th, and today we have a friend, Angad Daryani, who is from Georgia, and he is going to talk how you can be the youngest CEO. For this, I invite Israni sir to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Angad Daryani.
Thank you so much, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
So it gives me immense pleasure in introducing my friend, a very good friend, Mr. Angad Daryani today to everybody. Angad Daryani is one person who has such an impressive background, guys. You know, his journey started off when he was dropped out. He was actually, out of school during his SSC for various reasons. You know, you all can ask him that question: what made him actually move out of the regular school? And when he moved out of his SSC school, that's when his life completely changed. He got connected with MIT. MIT being one of the best universities in the world, MIT US, at the age of 13. He got connected with MIT at the age of 13, and his biggest achievement is he brought 3D printing to India in 2012 when he was only 13. By then he had two startups. On YouTube, you can actually find his speech that he gave at MIT, which was fantastic. I mean, it's one of the most impressive videos that you can ever see. He also worked on a brain controlled wheelchair. He went back to college. He's completed his regular education. He's done his engineering. He went to Georgia Tech University. He worked on EV. Currently, he's building the most advanced air purification for cities. He has started a venture called Pran, and people from Tata, from Tesla, people from Tesla, SpaceX, etc., all global big names are connected to Pran. What exactly is Pran as an initiative? Again, I would request Angad, during his talk, if he could just brief our people, about Pran. So, without taking a lot of time, Angad, over to you. I'm sure everyone is very eager to listen to you.
Thanks, Dinesh, and thanks to the college for having me. Firstly, I want to take the time to apologize to the team. This week has been incredibly tough for us. We're trying to restructure because of coronavirus. I understand I was a bit unapproachable. Also, thanks for taking the time to talk about these things, Dinesh. So originally, I'm from Mumbai. I'm born and brought up here. I dropped out of school in 9th grade. So before I jump into some of the things I have to show you, let's go over a short video to give you a little bit of a background on some of the things that I've been working on. So I'll quickly just switch screens so that we can pull up the video and watch it together. Is it audible for everyone?
Audio is not coming.
Would you mind trying to play, because I think it was running on your screen, right? I think, do you have it open with you?
I'll share it from here.
Yeah.
I was an 8-year-old boy observing the engineers at my father's company service center repairing solar inverters. This was the beginning of my journey as a maker. I first Lego Mindstorm kit, thank you mom and dad, and I started building toy robots. But wanted to build real things, so I started Googling. Hovercraft, solar boats, go-karts, cars, boats, and James Bond burning laser, which led me to Kit Cave and then make magazine. Hey, from kits, now I started building things on my own. From Atari pump consoles to automated gardening systems, 3D printers. Next stop, Arduino. Not knowing what it was, I googled it. From building hardware to programming. Wow. Soon, I quit formal schooling and started homeschooling, during which I emailed Professor Ramesh Raskar from MIT, participated in a hackathon organized by them. Third, I got back to developing a low-cost haptic feedback e-reader for the blind, later a stereo cable tracker, and then a wearable ECG monitoring device. Next, I met Vaibhav Chabra, saw Maker's Asylum being built, and helped in whatever way I could. Yes, we built a makerspace. Up in the timeline, I want to solve more real-world problems. I dream of a possible goal of reducing the world's plastic by 2020 and ensuring every child in the world has access to the digital world by 2025, and most importantly, every village in India has the basic resources for self-sustenance by 2030. These are dreams which I, as a maker, have, probably figuring out a way to achieve that step by step.
So thanks for playing that. That's a bit of a background on me. I'll just open some of the things that we've put together so that uh, I can show you while I speak. Um, so as mentioned, my name is Angad Daryani. I'm founder and CEO of Pran. Pran is a clean tech company that currently operates out of
Your voice is little low, Angad.
Atlanta, Berkeley, and Mumbai. By degree, I'm an electrical engineer. I just graduated in May from Georgia Tech in Atlanta. We just saw a video on a bit of my background. But what we'd really sort of want to specifically deep dive into, as since many of you are college students, there is a notion that people have, which is that you go to college so that you can get a job, or if you want to start your own companies, you need a very large amount of money to be successful in building that company. Pran today is 72 people across the United States and India, and we've come back now and we're going to significantly increase the things that we do in India. The project started with the idea that how do we have clean air in cities? Electric cars would take at least 30 years before we saw a large number of them around us and we had better air quality in cities. But since that has become difficult given economic scenario and also the adoption cycle in India, we said focusing on air pollution is going to be of utmost importance, simply because it's going to cause more respiratory diseases. It's linked to dementia, productivity losses. There's no direct comparison to lung cancer, but people in highly polluted cities have seen larger number of lung cancer patients. There's so many other diseases. It's linked to driver accidents, young child death, and all of those things. And that's why we said, let's try find a way to make Indian cities better to live in. Now, this sounds very broad, but solving the problem is incredibly hard because one, the technology that we built at Pran didn't exist before we did. And two, we had to make it low cost and weather weatherproof, so it could work in a country like India or Mexico or South Korea, because that's where you have these kind of problems. So things from me building those projects on my own move forward, to me realizing what I really want to do and spend my time and energy on, and that was environmental solutions and climate change. So as you can see, we now have a team with people coming from more than 60 locations around the world, from Australia all the way to Brazil, Japan, United States, Europe, Africa, Middle East, and majority in India. Um, Pran was named what it was so that we could connect to every single person in India, irrespective of their education level or socioeconomic background. That when they saw these devices on the street, they would understand this is something that helps me breathe better. Um, so what we truly build is filterless outdoor air purification systems for cities. So we have several models. One of the most prominent one that's about to launch later this year is a 5 feet attachment to street lamps, sides of buildings, corporate campuses, college campuses. These have zero maintenance. They adapt to their own surroundings where they're installed, to learn to save power, to understand the different pollution levels in the country. And all of this information is made accessible and sent back to the users to help them be better about their lifestyle. So it's a very futuristic company, but with a very direct motivation to solve problems that India faces today. And believe it or not, when we started for the first 2 out of the 3 years, we didn't have anything. I was paying everything out of pocket. You're cutting corners on your meals. You're cutting corners on your your expenses otherwise, going out with friends, and reutilizing that money to put it into solving this problem. We used to borrow our friends' cars, buy PVC pipes from the store, build different modules, and create pollution and try to simulate it. And then try to see if the technologies that we were building actually helped to solve those problems. And you can see that even though these are Georgia Tech engineers, it's known to be a premier institute in the world ranked #3 for electrical engineering, #1 for industrial engineering. You can see we're working out of parking lots, out of random streets. We're using plastic boxes that you store things in to create pollution chambers, because we didn't have the resources when we were starting off to build very profound solutions to solve these problems. Nobody was on paycheck. Nobody was making a single rupee out of this project. People were working after school hours till 3, 4 in the morning, in rain and during snow time. There, Atlanta had a hurricane, not a hurricane, but a storm, and there was snow, which never happens in Atlanta. And even then, we were working extremely hard because they realized this is an important problem to solve. And it affects more than 1 billion people in cities today. And so, like I mentioned, we built this without any sort of support. We were putting money that we'd saved together. We were buying parts out of hardware stores. We were really using our resources optimally. We used one of our dorm rooms as a storage center for keeping all these things, and people used to lift their bed above the storage system to sleep in the same room. And so we have this notion that those who are working out of the US or are at these top colleges have tremendous resources for research, but that's not the case here. So I have a very specific approach to figuring out ways to solve problems for India or to create a future India. Some of the things that I really like and worked on or believe that matter is education, technology, and rural development. And in my opinion, these three need to progress together for a country to progress as an entirety. So in the past, the startups that I worked on were Shark Kits, which was a low-cost do-it-yourself kit company that we started in 2013 and we sort of went on till 2016. Sharkbot 3D printer, I started with the idea of trying to make 3D printing accessible to everyone across socioeconomic background. And we went pretty far till I had to go back to school due to personal reasons. And However, that was picked up by other companies, and now you can have so many 3D printers in India from different Indian companies. In 2013, I met Vaibhav Chabra. He came up with he wanted to work on maker spaces. So just through that December, a little bit into January, we worked together. He really took it forward, and today Makers Asylum is in 2 cities. They do incredible things. It's exciting to see that these opportunities are available to students like you, where you don't need to buy 3D printers, laser cutters, power tools. All you have to do is go to these places, learn different skills. They have workshops, and enhance your skills and build things. In 2017, I was reached out while I was in US. I was reached out by somebody in the government in New Delhi, and they asked me to come up with ideas and write a script for the next national education policy in 2016. And so I did. At probably 48 hours, so in which I spoke to some of the smartest people I knew to gather feedback on why they left India and went to other countries, and use that feedback to come up with ways on how education from an early standpoint can be improved, to make it better for the country entirely. So that's sort of the work on future of education, because that helps us build the next generation of workers, the next generation of talent that will drive this country forward. Other than that, when you look at technology, I work in clean tech. So that means air purification, electric cars, forestation techniques, bioengineering, food sources. So in my opinion, air purification is going to be a band-aid solution to our sustainability issues. And that's why we're doing it with utmost sense of urgency. And while that's happening, more electric cars will be introduced in the market to work towards a cleaner, sustainable method. But it doesn't stop there. We have projects that are looking at making smart charging stations in low cost, without changing the grid entirely in cities. How do you make social media better without people being stuck to their phone for Instagram all day? That's a challenge. We're looking at how do you purchase properties in or around cities to make forest area or clean areas around the city to make environment better. Um, and then we have a project going on with people in the Netherlands on a better way to clean up the oceans of microplastics, and specifically looking at Pacific garbage patch. And all of this needs to happen while we work on clean energy storage. So my project MitoCell is very similar to Tesla Power Pack. We build these large lithium ion based energy storage solutions to create power backup for solar on a city level. And then most importantly, rural development, we started a project called Remake a Village. I was probably in 12th standard at that time. And we said, let's take doctors, engineers, architects, and educators to rural villages in India. So we went to villages in Kutch, Gujarat. And the idea was, can we solve the problems here locally with all of these skilled people here without any government intervention? And we were able to build animal shelters there, do health camps, get statistics of people's health, and then come up with better solutions on making this better. So that's how I look at figuring out ways to solve problems for India as a country, where education, technology, and rural development need to happen together. So how do you think about starting a company or solving a problem? I think for us, more importantly, and you will see more and more people when you look at companies like SpaceX and Tesla, who really care more about the mission as opposed to just making money. Because if you are able to solve a serious problem for the world, the money is going to come. And so I would specifically focus on how do you solve problems for the current 7 billion people and the next 5 billion people. And if you can do that and make the planet sustainable and better, you have a brighter and more exciting future to look forward to. Because when we grew up, we were always used to looking at hey, now more animals are going extinct, air pollution is on a rise, rivers are polluted entirely, more diseases are on the spread, and that's not an exciting future to look forward to. And so how do you solve these problems? So as students, I would first really push and motivate you to talk to a lot of people around you. And the reason I say around you is before you think about solving it for the full planet and 7 billion people, I would say let's look at smaller communities where you can start and learn. Um, for example, it doesn't always have to be in the sustainability space. It can be finance. It can be last mile delivery services. It can be something which is an online platform similar to Amazon, but for your local Kirana shops, right? So how do you take Kirana shops and people who don't know how to use technology online so that they're able to better their orders? How do you make sure that people around you get masks, etc., in situations like coronavirus? These are sort of problems that I would encourage you to solve on a local level. And it sounds very easy. Let's, hey, solve this problem, but the sort of way to do it is to talk to a lot of people, look at what actually exists in the market, why it may or may not work for where you're trying to implement things. um, and if something doesn't exist, you have to figure out a way to do it cheaply, quickly, without requiring too many resources. And it's very much possible because if we're able to build a company like Pran in over 3 years, less than, I'd say, 10 to 15 lakh rupees, which had ridiculous amount of R&D and working across multiple countries, hardware, software, bioengineering, fluids, then you can definitely solve these kind of problems, which can be easily solved through software, very easily at almost no cost. And then how do you really start a company? All a company is a group of like-minded people, passionate people who are willing to work together and spend their time to solve a problem. This could be two of your friends from class, your cousin brother, cousin sister, or anybody else you meet who is passionate about the same things as you are. Um, and from there, all you have to do is, again, the way to solve the problem. Understand what the problem is, look at what exists, and together find ways to solve that problem and have somebody pay for it. That's as simple as what a company is. It's all the other legal stuff is very easy to work around. Um, so most people have the assumption that you need a lot of money to scale a company, which is true at a later stage. But when you're just starting up, early stage, pre-stage, few thousand rupees saved here and there can help you put up a logo, make business cards, put up a website, and hey, you are now a company. And you can register a company in less than 30 days. But in the meantime, you can go get customers. It doesn't cost anything. So the idea is when you have enough customers, or if you're a company like in high tech space like we are at Pran, you need to have something that works and is scalable, and then you can start approaching investors or financiers to say, hey, we want to change the world. Do you want to be a part of it? 99% are going to say no. They're not going to get you. The 1% will take you seriously and push forward and help you scale this. So it's very much possible. There's a lot of money out there to help finance all of these projects. So you just have to find ways to solve the problems around you and find a paying customer for it. So also, starting a company is probably not for everyone. I definitely don't recommend every single person to do it. Because one, then we will not have anyone to work in at these companies, and two, it's very painful in the long run to start a company. So how do you build industry level skills? Because a lot of the learnings from school are from book or from professor, and they share their insight and knowledge, but the world around us is changing at a pace where you wake up the next day and technology has changed entirely. Think about the day where Snapchat was launched. Before that, nothing like this existed, or when Facebook was launched, right? Changed overnight. So how do you build industry level skills? And for me, it's three ways of doing it. One is build your own projects. It can look very ugly. It cannot function the first 10 times and function only the 11th time, but you're going to learn a lot in that process. Other is irrespective of whether it's a startup or an MNC, irrespective of it's a paid or an unpaid internship. If it's a company that takes its people seriously, go and work there. As a personal experience, I can share that every single person who has interned at Pran has ended up at a company like Tesla, SpaceX, Apple, Google X, Amazon Lab 126, which is their research lab. We have so many people from Facebook, Microsoft. So work at good internships, learn things the hard way, learn by doing, whether paid or unpaid, and you will find the right network to build a career. And most importantly, when I say meet a lot of people, I don't mean it in a social party setting or go play video games with them. I literally mean go talk to the people who you feel are smarter than you, take them out for tea or coffee, and pick their brain. And when you do that with enough number of people, you've gathered experiences of a lifetime from all of these people just over a cup of coffee. And that's a lot of learning very quickly. And when I say not playing PUBG, sure, it's good to play for entertainment, but if you spend that time on yourself, if you spend that time on going around and learning things, and spend that time understanding the problems around you, you're surely going to be able to maneuver situations in your lifetime and build the right opportunities for yourself, whether or not if it's in a time like coronavirus. And so what do you do in times like COVID-19 when the world is shut down? I landed in India on March 18th, mid-semester. And while my last semester was in progress and my company was about to close its financing, which we lost this week, um, we realized coronavirus is going to affect a large number of people in India. When I came back, India had only 30,000 ventilators in total, close to zero negative pressure isolation chambers available for public. They were only in few private hospitals, and no software platform to connect uh, COVID patients to hospitals near them in the fastest way. So we started at Pran. People were working overtime to build and design an open source negative pressure isolation chambers for hospitals, for makeshift facilities. And these 3 designs are now free, available to any company or hospital who wants them. We will help them through the process of design and building these solutions themselves. Um, and the other thing that I did on a personal level is on day 1, I landed on March 18th. March 20th, I put out a free design for an open source ventilator that used PAPR with all the source code and design files on my website, and I shared it. And that's the least I felt I could do as an electrical engineer with some ability to build things. And that's a very simple design of how we did it. And we have a whole slide deck and a web page on how to build your own. It didn't take more than a day to design it if you put in enough time and have the background to it. So you can solve the problems around you in real time very quickly if you really care enough. And it didn't cost me anything to do these things. And lastly, and most importantly, treat COVID. My idea was that as the disease spread further, more people would find it difficult to find a spot or a hospital bed. And so without requiring people to install the app on their phone, tracking their location, landing in cybersecurity problems, how do you find people the nearest cure? And also, how do you make sure that hospitals are equipped to handle the incoming patients? So they have to be better at their supply chain. This was an early idea which has changed its name, and now there's more people involved in making it happen. Another idea I put out for free, and it got the name Treat COVID. The idea was that if you were going to get a test or you feel uneasy, you will log on to this website, no login required. And you tell them your symptoms. If it overlaps with coronavirus, or if you feel you have it or have been in touch with somebody and you want to go to a hospital or book a test, it will rank the hospitals and tests based on the availability and the proximity to where you are. And if you select it, you can then inform the hospital that you're on the way and get real-time updates if you will or will not get a hospital bed there. And at the same time, it helps hospitals understand the patients coming in and prepare for them. This was built with zero money. Maybe eventually we spend 10 to 20,000 rupees to build the platform, get the domain, all of that. But it was later, all the coding was done for free. It was hosted for free. Then we got the custom platform built. And so something that I really care about is, I know it was only 15 minutes to talk to all of you. I feel I would rather spend the time talking to you about your ideas, discuss next steps on how to solve these ideas, the different problems, because I've dropped out of school, gotten back to school. I've been in multiple course curriculums. I've switched engineering colleges, eventually landed up at Georgia Tech. I'm also an engineer, but I have background in business for my own companies. I also worked with a company named Artis. They're a 32-year-old Indian company that makes these earpods, earbuds, and I tried to find ways to work on modern technology for Indian customers, worked in business, marketing, analytics. So I would love to hear about some of your challenges and hopefully go through many of them so that you can get the ideas to proceed further in your careers. Yeah. Are there any questions so far? I think, sorry.
Thank you, Angad. It was a very, very thoughtful session and something which is really very practical. Yes, there are few questions. So there is a participant who wants to know that you have given a TEDx talk. So we want to know how was the experience and something which you want to share from that story.
I think my first TEDx talk was in 2013 December. After that, there have been 4 or 5 more. I think the idea is I was lucky to, TEDx Gateway was my first talk, which is Asia's largest TED event. Yashraj Akashi is incredible. It was the first time I spoke at a public platform. It was in front of, I think, 1,400 people and had a couple of billionaires sitting in front of me. So I was 15 years old at the time. So it was a bit scary before I went on stage. And that time TED Talks were still not as popular or not available in every college like India. So it was a big thing. I think incredible experience. You get to meet a lot of people. It built up a lot of confidence. It also gave me the platform to share ideas and to tell more people that, hey, you don't need a fancy college degree or stamp to do things. Because that time I was 15 years old working with MIT. I don't know a lot of 15-year-olds who were lucky enough to get the opportunity to do that. So yeah, definitely incredible experience. You get to meet a lot of people, and more than the glamour, it's the associations with the people and getting platforms to share your ideas.
Thank you, Angad. I'll take one question.
Sure.
You talked about that we have ideas so we can do startup, but then a lot of things at startup to take care, like how to take proper team, the finance part, the office space. So what is your suggestion on that?
Your room can be your office space. You're allowed to register a company at your house address. Financials, unless you're doing some crazy business, you can just use an Excel file or Google Sheets for free. And you learn on the go. So if you don't, so you are faced with a specific challenge, talk to somebody who knows how to do it. So there are enough businesses, you'll find somebody in your family, friend circle who's dealt with it. That problem can be solved in a conversation. And you learn by doing it. I had zero background in air purification, government project, talking to investors, nothing, none of it before Pran. The startups I started when I was 14, 15 years old were built out of my house. I was shipping from my own room, assembling the kits and giving it out to people. So you don't need office spaces till you actually truly need them.
Okay. What was your biggest success story or happiest day?
Happiest day?
Yeah.
Well, Angad, our students want to know that why did you name your company as Shark Kids?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think I'll try to answer strategically. Happiest day, I think I'm very happy when I get it's sort of the same gratification where I get to wake up every single day and be motivated and excited to work on the things that I do. So Pran has given enough motivation to wake up happy and excited about the future. Because previously I used to wake up feeling sad. Why am I working so hard in school or doing things when, you know, the earth is doomed? Yeah. And so sort of why did I name it Shark Kids? Growing up, I used to watch a lot of Discovery Channel. And this was very young. I was in 7th standard maybe when I started that project as a company. And I used to love sharks. I used to read about their behavior. I have so many books on sharks. And so it was more of a kiddie name saying Shark Kids. And I started by selling it to my classmates. Hey, do you want to learn how to make a speaker? I can sell it to you for 400 rupees. I sold it in loss. My cost was higher than my selling price. But I think the idea was to learn how to deal with people, build a product and sell it for exchange of money. So it was pretty young. Yeah, that's why Shark Kids.
Okay. So our students also want to know that what are the points we should mention in industrial skills?
Sure. Yeah. So it really depends on what major you are from, what you study. But I think irrespective of your background, when say I've maybe done 1,500 interviews in the past 3 years of people to work at Pran. Some things that we really look for is your communication abilities, which people take lightly in sometimes in India, thinking, hey, if I'm a great engineer or a great marketing person, I don't need to be great at communication. Your entire company stands on that communication bit. So be good at communicating your ideas, shorter sentences, speak to the point, be able to excite people about your vision. So learn how to tell stories, basically. Second, industry level skills that I would really care about is you need to know some kind of programming language irrespective of what you do, right? So the easiest one or the fastest one to learn is Python. There's a very nice course online for free by University of Michigan called Python for Everybody. Learn it. It teaches you a very logical approach to the world once you can learn how to code. The other things that I would about, if you're an engineer, I would say look beyond things like Arduino or Raspberry Pi, because those are good ways to start, but nobody in industry uses them. So learn hardcore skills. I would say C specifically, C language, you should be incredible at it. I would also look at using industrial controllers like ARM microprocessor, ST microcontrollers. That's more industry grade. If you're a mechanical engineer types, be extremely good at fluids, thermodynamics, CAD, simulation software like ANSYS, very highly sought after. One job that's never going to go out of business is a full stack web developer. So don't just say I've taken these courses, build 50 websites, even if they're not online, and show it to the person you're trying to work for, saying, hey, I have experience in building web apps. Same with mobile applications, never going away. AI is, but people sort of hype up AI a lot, to saying it's going to be future. Yeah, it is, because it helps you solve problems. But don't look at AI in the way that I would say to some extent, some Silicon Valley companies put it as AI is going to kill you or whatever. I think use it as a tool to make systems better. And for marketing, look beyond marketing, social media marketing, talk to people, understand their problem points, what they want to pay for, and talk to a large number of people, not like a small biased crowd. That's when you can truly understand where the market is going.
Angad, can you explain what is your typical day? when you work as a startup?
Quite. The reason I usually don't try to tell people about it, it can scare people of trying to do these things. But for the past 3 years, I've actually had a very erratic lifestyle. So usually sleeping between 3 to 5 hours every night. And I work between US time, India time. So like when I'm here, I'm working the entire night. I go to bed at 6, 7 a.m., probably up by 11 or 12. When there was school, the entire day used to be spent on school. After school used to be till midnight homework and work the night on Pran. And that's how we built whatever we did. So right now it's pretty much, my job right now is to raise money for the company. We actually raised it and we were trying to deploy later this year, but because of coronavirus, a lot of investors are backing out. Their existing portfolio companies are going bust. So my job is now to get back to raising capital quickly so that we can now scale things in India. So I'm pretty much between, I spend most of my time working on engineering stuff, and then some time is spent on investor conversations, work with business teams, talking to customers, and then doing the same jhadu pocha at home because there's no house help. So you also have to help out at home and make sure you have meals with your family, sort of thing.
Okay, so we have the next question, that if you have to work for service sector, is it always communication which matters, or technical knowledge, or the hands-on skills which is important?
I think it's all of it. And when you say service sector, I'm just trying. Can you elaborate a little bit more when you say service? It's a little broad.
Actually, ma'am has asked a question like this, that if you want to work for the service sector, so whether communication matters, or the technical knowledge, or the hands-on skill.
Yeah, so if you're looking at servicing, say on a business side of things, you have to have communication skills. Your hands-on skills matter. Can you make good PowerPoint presentations or not? And that, when I say that, everybody knows how to use the software. Very few people know how to make good, useful presentations. Or other sort of hands-on skills can be, do you know how to do financial modeling in Excel to check financial viability of a project before you propose it? And then sort of, I would say, so you said hands-on skills or communication. I think it's both. For every single job, imagine a teacher who's today teaching engineering doesn't know how to teach CAD software or ANSYS. It's a big problem. They may be excellent at mechanical engineering fundamentals, but they're not equipping students with hands-on skills. So you need both.
Okay, the next question is, like, we all want to know that you are a CEO at such an early age. So what is your experience about it? Can you share it?
It's the worst job in the world. And it's I mean, okay, take that with a pinch of salt. It's the most exciting thing to wake up to every day because you get to give direction to a company or a project. It's definitely a very glamorized job. You are the company, which means if you do well, you get the credit, but every single thing from your office floor being dirty all the way to company breaking financials, making losses, all on you. So I think I have tremendous gratitude that I get to do what I do. I have tremendous excitement for what I do, because if I can wake up and be excited about the future and I'm able to solve problems that make the future better, I think there's no better gift. And the reason I said it's the worst job in the world is just that there's, given, again, it's very different for everyone, but if you're in startup phase, 99% of the pressure and expectations are from you. So there's tremendous pressure on you.
Angad, when you are a startup or you are running a business, there is many times ups and downs. So
For sure.
how important you feel is the family support?
It's very important. Yeah, I think for startup, so I don't know how many kids know what a sine curve is in the college, again, dependent on major. It's literally up and down the cycle. And what happens is when you're in startup, these ups and downs are every single day. When you become a company like Microsoft, it happens once in 5 years, but they're massive, right? The ups and downs. So when you are at a down or when you're at a high, there's something called a peacetime versus a wartime CEO situation. Peacetime is when you're at your up. How do you make sure your team is able to, or you are able to perform and make sure the company does great even in good times? And then wartime is when you're in a situation like coronavirus, you're bleeding money as a company, probably tremendous losses. How do you solve this? So do we have the emotional capability to fight those problems along with your skills and logic? Family support, friend support, I think it's very important because there's a very large number of reports, or I'd say neuroscience lectures online, that say that the ability to shift focus quickly helps your brain focus on tasks better. And when I say shift focus repeatedly, I don't mean multitasking. It means that you're doing multiple different things in a day. And because you're doing multiple things, you're able to bounce back and forth more focus on those one ideas. So one of these things is being able to spend good time with your family, do things with the family or friends, and so that you're recharged to come and deal with stressful things.
Yes, thank you. One question is, early when you're in the business, you have a team which is less, but once teams grows around 50, 70, 80 people, how can you share some secret how you can manage?
Yeah, it's quite a challenge, especially it becomes harder if you are more of a say service-based company like say Scootsie or Uber Eats type of thing, or for us the challenge becomes we do so many things in one day. It's very difficult to keep everybody on the same page. And then when you're sort of scaling, you want to make sure that even the last person you hire feels important and motivated enough to work hard and solve problems on their own. So I would say when you're hiring people, this is where you need to put in tremendous effort. In India, I think we're very lazy, at least from what I have seen with family businesses. Maybe I haven't worked enough in Indian corporate offices. We're very lazy when it comes to recruiting process. For those who work full-time at Pran, it takes about 7 to 8 interview stages and an on-site interview before you are onboarded. And this is not done to increase your pain level or waste our time. It's done so that we and each person on the team gets enough time spent with you to understand your strengths and weaknesses and to find the best place you would fit in within all of the different teams. And so we test on everything from communication abilities to what personal projects you do. We care about drive. We care about one question I ask every single person who works at Pran in interviews, right? So I've asked it almost 1,500 times. If you were given unlimited resources, time, and money, what would you do with it? Because if you're able to look at the world from a utopian standpoint and get excited about things, we can find ways on making that a reality. So if you have infinite time, resources, money, what would you do? It helps me understand the person on a deeper level. And then why do you want to work with us as opposed to anything else? And if all of those answers make sense and they have hands-on skills and theoretical skills, you probably have a person who will stick around.
Thank you.
Okay, so there is a question. There is this participant who's working on Dream Modifier. So he's saying he's working on it and it would need cognitive ability of the mind. So do you have any idea about it, or you would like to put some of your experience into this?
So most of my mind work with brainwave is in EEGs. I think cognitive ability of the mind is more of a Elon Musk thing with Neuralink. For those of you who don't know what Neuralink is, it's a brain implantable electrode, which interfaces with the microcontroller. And what you're trying to do is understand the electrical changes inside your neurons in the brain, grab onto those through the electrodes, and analyze them in signal processing to make sense of it. I don't have enough experience with cognition. I have experience with EEGs, which is your brainwave signal, and we were very manually using a very large recorded data set to understand for people, say if people are thinking about moving forward, a wheelchair moving forward, what do those patterns look like? What are the waveforms that affect those patterns? I would say look furthermore or talk to a few neuroscientists to understand what is it that you truly want to read and measure. Think about ways on how you can measure those. It's most likely going to be electrical activity in the brain, um, and try to do it passively without requiring surgical stuff like Neuralink, which Elon Musk is proposing. um, yeah, that's pretty much it. And advanced signal processing with first early stage classification, machine learning, and then probably a little bit of deep learning if you have enough data to be able to, I think, do cognition analysis.
Okay. As you said, if you had the same opportunity of having infinite data, infinite resources, and infinite time, what would you do?
I'm doing what I'm doing right now. I don't have infinite resources and time, so but I still got the answer of what I want to do by asking myself that question. And so now I try to build things and then find resources to keep building them, and then find more resources to keep pushing it forward.
Okay, the next question is, does brainstorming perform major role in solving any problems?
Yeah, it takes a lot of brain cycles for a single decision that you make. So for example, if you look at electric vehicles, what should the size of the tire be? There's so much brainstorming and thinking cycles that go into making that decision. So sometimes you brainstorm with other people who have more experience or who work with you, and sometimes you brainstorm with yourself. So I'm often thinking about 10,000 things, but I'll propose one of them after cycling through a lot of thoughts. I think when you're very passionate about something, you're thinking about these things all the time, even when you're asleep. And so you're putting enough brain cycles and brainstorming to be able to come up with solutions. None of these things are impulsive decisions. Maybe deciding to solve this problem was the only impulsive decision. The other ones require tremendous thinking.
Thank you. One last question. Uh, can you share your thoughts and views about the businesses after post COVID-19?
Yeah, sure. So I'd say stop speculating. People are, I think, burning through their energies and depressing themselves or making themselves sadder looking at things. The world hasn't dealt with this before. We've dealt with pandemics, but those killed 100 million people like Spanish flu. So let's not use those as examples. Um, I would just say try to be lean, try to minimize your wants and desires, try to be healthy and happy, and try to do things that are exciting. Keep building your skills even as a company. uh, I think if a company is not innovating with the times, it's going to die, and which it deserves to, because it's no longer needed then. um, and so I would say it's going to be slow start after COVID-19 because people have made severe losses during this time. But hopefully by Q3, Q4 next year, everything is going to be normal. It's not going to be infinitely lasting. Humanity learns to adapt. So don't be too worried about these things. Try to be safe and be smart about where you're going. Try not to harm other people with your lifestyle. That's all I think about.
Thank you so much, Angad, for coming.
Pleasure.
Can I have Professor Bhumi ma'am to give vote of thanks?
Thank you, Angad, for being so thoughtful and giving a brief idea about business and how it functions and how one should make a plan and how they should be working. I personally like the question which you ask and the number of interviews that you take to finalize a candidate so that it works in very smooth manner in future. Yes, we could easily see that you have done a good TEDx talks in future and sorry, in past, and also you would be doing in future. which made you so precise with your words and your answers. At the same time, you were very informative. Thank you for having us here. Thank you for being the speaker, the last speaker, and the youngest CEO, one from the India, though in Georgia.
No,
Thank you.
I'm back in Mumbai, so it's exciting. But yeah, thanks for taking the time. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome.
Friends, thank you everyone for viewing us live on our YouTube channel. Those who have attended all our webinars, there's certificate for participation. The link is shown here. We are also putting the link on the YouTube channel live chat. And once you put your details, you will be getting your certificate on your mail. Thank you everyone for watching and making this series of youngest successful young generation people who have inspired us from last 5 days and making this session a huge success. Thank you everyone once again from the entire Armiet College of Engineering and Technology. Please follow us on our YouTube channel, on our Facebook channel, Facebook page, and our Instagram page. Thank you.